Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. And today I'll be talking about DIY air conditioning system that I have built. I'm first going to talk about the science behind it, and from there I'm going to discuss my project. When it comes to this project, this idea did not come from me personally. This came from another YouTube video, and from there I decided to do my own version of that same DIY air conditioning system. And the main reason for me doing this project was just for experience purposes. Um, when it comes to the project, I will also talk about the tools I used, the process, and also talk about any setbacks and stuff that I had to adjust when it came to the project.
Okay, I'm going to explain the science behind the air conditioning system. Here we have a good visual that I found online and just decided to use this. We have a compressor and we have a condenser, evaporator, and an expansion valve. For my project, I have a pump which acts as a compressor and two copper tubes which one acts as a condenser, another acts as a evaporator, and I have a smaller copper capillary tube which acts as the expansion valve. When it comes to the air conditioning system, what the air conditioning system is really doing is removing heat from the air and move that heat somewhere else. The refrigerant travels through the evaporator, compressor, and condenser, and then like I said, for my thin copper tube. And when it comes to the evaporator, the refrigerant absorbs the heat from the air, which then makes the air feel cooler. From there, the compressor then raises the pressure and temperature of the refrigerant, and following that heat is then released to the surrounding air. Then after that, we had, like I said before, I had a smaller capillary tube. That tube drops the pressure, so then that's like our expansion valve here, and then the cycle repeats. So that's the main side behind this. In thermodynamics, they would call this a vapor compression refrigeration cycle. And yeah, that's it's pretty simple, and then that's how the air conditioning system works.
Hi everyone, today I would like to talk about my DIY air conditioning project. I initially got the idea to do this project from a video online where they showed detailed steps of using simple components to make an air conditioning system. I simply followed those same steps and did it on my own so I could better understand how to use those components and also learn along the way. With this video, I'm first going to talk about the different components of the air conditioning system, then also talk about problems that I ran into, adjustments, and also I will also talk about different power tools that I used. Okay, I'm gonna go over the components. So here we have our evaporator. Here we have our condenser. Here we have our our fan, and here we have our power source, which is just two AA batteries here. Um, we also have evaporator, condenser, capillary tube, motor, a power source, which is two AA batteries, and our fan. So those are all of the components. The capillary tube drops the pressure. The the fluid goes to the evaporator where air will intake the heat, and from there it'll make the air cooler. and then because the condenser, the heat will be released back out to the surrounding air. And that is how this, and that is the basics of how the system works. I'm going to go a little more detail later on in the video on how the system works, but for now, that's the basics right there. Now I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on how this project was built. When it comes to this project, I needed a wooden base. So when it comes to wooden base, I had to get a 2 by 2 foot plywood, and from there cut it out using, yeah. So I had gotten, so from here I needed a. I'm not gonna. I'm trying to make this really quick, because this is, at the end of all, this is a very simple project. So I'm gonna make it pretty quick and say what I did. But um, I needed a base, so I got a 2 by 2 plywood, and then I used this bad boy right here, the reciprocating saw, to cut it with a reciprocating saw wooden blade. I also um, so from there on, I cut the base out, and from there, my next tool, that power tool I needed, was a drill. I used this drill to make most of the holes. Was make most of the holes in places like here and here for these. What would they call these? Cables in mount kit. So I needed to make some mounts in certain places to add to the base to tie down these components. And to do that, I needed the drill with the screws, and and from there, attach the zip cord to with the. I mean, attach the zip cord to the components. That was basically it, and then from there on, I guess it's that was not. I won't say it, but after that, I'll go to soldering. When it comes to soldering, this is my very first time soldering. Also, actually using this drill as well. So when it came to soldering, I basically just got a soldering kit, and I just did it from I just did it. Um, at first, it was pretty hard to use, or yeah, pretty hard to use. But later on, I got a hang of it. I had to watch a video on it. I don't know if you can see, but right, I'm gonna zoom in. Right here, there we go. Okay, right here was pretty tough to solder. To solder this kit. In the video, he rubbed something on this tube and this tube before adding the soldering. I don't know what it was, but I had to ask. I asked Chat, to be honest, and it said that it was soldering wax. Something, I think they call it soldering wax. We just call it soldering wax. And from there on, I had to get some soldering wax. The soldering wax actually came in with the soldering kit, but the problem was that I really there's no way to kind of add it to these tubes. So I brought some liquid soldering kit, which is like relatively pretty easy just to apply to these two tubes. And to be honest, it's still kind of challenging, very very challenging. Took me a day, I think, at least, or no, I'll say like 5 hours to do both of these parts right here and also here. Um, okay. Um, Another challenging part was his wooden block here. In the video, he has something. He has a wooden block just like this, and he has something where he has some type of belt just like this, kind of that ties down the motor. I had to improvise and do it a different way. I forgot what they call it, but it's usually for wires. I used this and mounted the motor here instead of on top like I did in the video, and it still worked pretty fine. What else? Also, I um I added. I had to connect the the wires from the fan to the power source, and also so I had to connect the wires from the fan and the power source together, and from there on solder it to the motor. So this wasn't too much of a challenge. I thought this was actually pretty fun. Um, it actually was kind of challenging because the wires from the fan, I don't know what they call it, but they were together, and basically I had to cut over the scissors, and from there on, kind of like expose the wire in order to attach it to this power source. And that was a little bit of a challenge, not too much of a challenge, but like if I had to rate it out of 10, I'll say 5 out of 10. From there on, I just had to simply solder this to the motor, and then that was pretty easy. Um, and yeah, that was it. Now, the sad part of this project is that what's required what's the required fluid is isobutane, and unfortunately, due to California laws, I'm in California. I'm not able to ship it to my address. The comp, I'm not able to ship isobutane to my address. I could, I could probably, I could probably ship it to address out of state and have it shipped here, but that'd be too complicated, I think. So unfortunately, I'll not be able to run this and see it work in real time. But I still think it was still a very fun project to do, and I also learned a lot. I learned I learned how to use the drill, how to solder, and I also use this tool right here, which is basically just a wire cutter. And yeah, that's my project. And that wraps up my video for the DIY air conditioning system. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos about learning and projects coming up ahead. Thanks for watching.